Welcome everybody, great to see you back again for another live stream. Today we are doing the Australian friendly time zone and also for our friends in Europe. It's 11 a.m. for me where I'm at, and then next week we'll be doing the stream again at our standard time, which will be 5 hours from now. So if you're in the US, you'll be able to go ahead and catch us in a more US friendly time zone. So yeah, welcome to everybody who's just joined us. We can see Charles Minto, one of our Academy members from Sydney, saying hi from Sydney, and Ademir from Brazil. Welcome. So it's an early start for you over there in South America, but great to see you on the stream as well. So today we're going to be focusing on just using simple triads to come up with some more interesting voicings, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys. And then I've got a couple of announcements as well to give you guys, which I'll go ahead and get ready for us. And we've got Edwin saying good morning. Hey Edwin, great to see you. I'm just going to make one little tweak on my end here. It's kind of like flying the, what would you call it? The Millennium Falcon here, with all the things that I've got to take care of over here. And obviously we got Kenan watching a couple of doors down here in J-Bay, South Africa. So welcome guys. Let's see, we should have sound all around. And we're going to be diving into the lesson today. And we've got Jazz Prano saying good evening from Malaysia. Awesome. Yeah, that's why we wanted to do the streams at some different times, because we used to do them always that Worship Guitar show on US friendly time zones. But what we do every Friday, we have a live stream for all of our Worship Guitar Skills coaching members. And one week we do an Australian friendly time zone, the other week we do a US friendly time zone. So we thought, let's move that Worship Guitar show to the same day that we are doing those streams. Then we can go ahead and get some good better suited time zones for everyone all over the world. It's really an honor and a privilege to have so many people tuning in from everywhere, right across the globe. So it's really awesome to see everybody. All right, so we are busy working with chord voicings and finding ways in order to come up with better voicings. Now, if you study guitar, people typically tell you learn all the voicings in all the keys and all the positions. And if you look at a book like Chord Chemistry by a guy called Ted Green, then what that's going to do, it's going to just be a ton of chords all over the neck, and it's going to be in so many different positions and so forth, that it just doesn't really become very useful to be able to learn all those voicings. Number one, it's a lot. All right, so to try and learn all the voicings in all the keys and all the positions, you're going to end up with more voicings that you'll ever need in a lifetime. So for most people with the time constraint, that is not really useful or actually practical, right? Because number one, you don't have the time. Number two, most of those voicings don't tend to translate well to modern worship. Like if you go and learn proper jazz voicings, then they are not quite going to work for you in the way that you would need them to, as it relates to cutting through the mix and really adding value. But you do find sometimes when you are playing, when you're playing worship, that sometimes you need a major seventh or you need a dominant seventh or whatever the case may be, and then simple triads don't always seem to do the trick with regards to that. That's what I want to help you get ready today. So if you have any questions around any of these voicings, feel free to ask, and we'd be happy to help you. Looks like we might have a slight delay on this one camera over here, but we'll see how it goes when I go to the second cam, which is where we're going to be spending the majority of our time as well. So Mark Lynch saying greetings from Trinidad and Tobago. A nice early start over there. Welcome, Mark. Great for you to join us. All right, so what we're going to do is let's go ahead and just lay the foundation for what we want to do. Normally, and I'll go to my second camera over here. Normally when you go to play voicings and somebody says, all right, great, can you play a G? Then this will be like the simplest version of a G. Or if you play a triad, it'll be that, or or that, or this. That's what we call a triad. That G is only 3 notes. But what happens if you read a chord chart and you see G major 7th? Well, if you're a student of jazz, I'll go ahead and just get rid of some of my delays and stuff. Clean up the tone here a little bit. If you see G major 7th, and if you're a jazz guitarist, you're going to kind of go for this voicing, right? Or you'll do this. Or you'll do that, which is a bigger one. Or you'll do this. Right? All those are G major 7th voicings. And they sound cool and so forth, but you're not going to really be able to use this in a modern worship setting. And I'll show you real quick. Let's say we play 1, 4, which will be C major 7th. 6 will be E minor 7th. Let's just say you know this, E minor 7th. And then 5, if you're going to play a D7. Let's just say that's what you would go for. I might throw in some reverb and so forth. And let's say I now need to use those voicings. This is not going to sound right. Let me just preface that by saying that. So here we go. G major 7. Alright, so those voicings I just kind of played your typical voicings that you would go for when you see G major 7th, C major 7th, E minor 7th, or D 7th. The point is I'm able to unlock another tension on top of what I normally play. But what would you do if you see G9? Well, a lot of folks might just go like this, and the kind of James Brown funk kind of chord, right, without any delays and reverbs. They'll play these. And that is a G9, but that G9 won't work in the context of modern worship, because this is a dominant chord, and the dominant chord wouldn't work for your 1 and your 4 chord. So we're not going to get into all the theory, but as you can see, there's a couple of landmines as it relates to what you want to do with regards to the voicings at your disposal when it comes to what you would choose. Now, what I want to show you is if we go to this angle over here, I've got I prepared something over here for us, which we can see. Over here we have a G major triads all over on the guitar. And let me see if I can make that bigger for you guys, because that's going to help us to kind of see what we want to do here. Let me just check one thing out here. We can make this bigger. Right, I'm going to just go ahead and unlock this one thing so we can go ahead and try a few things over here. Just to make it a little bit bigger. What you are seeing in front of you right now is basically the G major triads. And let me just move this 1 second over here. I'll make that just bigger just for the teaching part, and then we'll go ahead and we'll come and tweak things a little bit. If you look at these voicings right here, you can see that this is a G triad, and it's the 3rd, the 5th, and the root. Let's go ahead and make a little bit of space for the guitar so we can see that at the same time. So I'm going to just go ahead and make that like that, and let's drag this down here. Okay. So now what you are seeing in front of you there, this first chord over here, right there, that is a G major triad. And if I play it over here, it's cool. And if I play a C with this shape over there, or a D with this shape over here, those are the simple triads. But how can I get a G major 7th sound using a simple triad? Well, if I just use the G triads, then I'm not going to be able to get the 7th sound, because these are just triads. But check out what happens if, let's just imagine for a second, if we add that B note, and we're going to make this a root note. Okay, and then I'm going to make a few changes here. I'm going to play a B minor like this, and a B minor like that, and a B minor like this. So now these three shapes that I've just changed over here, I've made them all B minor, right? So now I'm going to play B minor over here, which is my first voicing. That one right there. Now I'm going to do my second voicing, B minor, and my third voicing. Now you might say, all right, Charles, so we are talking about how do I play G major 7th, but you are now showing me how to play B minor triads. I'm not quite following. Well, check this out. This is a B minor triad. And so is that, and so is this. What can happen now is if I make this G note, let's just go over here. I'm gonna put the G note back in here, and I'm gonna make that a root note. Look at what happens. Instead of being a root, a flat third, and the fifth, which are the three notes that make up my B minor triad, now I make the G the root, and look what happens here now. Now that note has become a third, a fifth, and a seventh, which basically means if I play a B minor triad over a G bass note, I'm going to get what's known as a G major 7th chord. You see that same thing over here and over here too. So if I just go, and I can do the same thing for C, I'm going to play a 1-4 progression. So instead of playing C and G and C for a 1-4 progression, I'm going to play B minor for the G, and I'm going to play E minor for the C. Listen what happens over here now when I play it like that. Over a 1-4 progression, playing minor triads. And at one point I'm going to shift back to major triads so you can hear the difference. So minor triads. There's that 7th sound. Let's go further up the neck, playing minor triads over major chords. B minor over a G. And yeah, it sounds very different than the standard G, or E minor for C. Let's go up furthermore. B minor to E minor. Let's go back to just straightforward triads, yeah? Hear the difference, super happy sound, right? C major. But let's do 7s with the minor triads. Alright, so that is the concept that I've shown you right here, is by playing a different triad than the one that you would expect to see. So don't play a G major triad over a G major, play a B minor triad over a G major. Then that's going to give you a 7th sound. So how do you know when to, what triad to use in order to unlock these 7s? Well, it's quite simple. If you look at a G major chord, right? That's my arpeggio. Those are the notes that make up G major. So it's G, B, and D, G, B, and D, G, B, and D. So you're just going to take your major triad and you go to the 3rd, and then you play a minor triad. So a B minor triad, playing a minor from the 3rd of the chord, is going to go ahead and give you a major 7th sound, and so forth. Now, let's go back to our other screen where we had the notes written in here. So as you can see, that is a B major, a B minor triad. But when G is the root, it means it's 3, 5, and 7. Let's listen to that. So 3, 5, and 7. There's that 7th sound. Without that, if it's a root note, if I make that 7th over there a root note, then it's like a plain vanilla triad. But if I move this back 1 fret by playing a B minor triad, then you can see that grey note gives me that 7th sound. Also over here, if I do these 3, that note gives me that 7th sound. Then if I go here, then that's just a straightforward D. So as you can see, that difference when that G note goes to a 7th like this, it makes a big difference in the chord. Now something else you can do, you can also go from the 5th. So I can play a D major triad over G. So I'm just going to make all of these D major triads. Look at these shapes now. It's a D shape here. All right, and it's a D shape there. And it's a D shape here. Now we've got 2 grey notes, which means I've got, in this case, it can be seen as either a 2nd or a 9th. So this is going to be like a G major 9. If I just play that D major triad over a G chord, can you hear that it starts to sound very jazzy in that instance, or like here, right? Or over there. Let's go triads only. And if I were to do that over C, then what's going to happen is I'm going to play a G triad over C, which is going to give me the same notes. The 3rd of the G becomes the 2nd, or the 7th. The 5th of the G becomes the 9th, and that's my 5th. So listen to this now. I'm going to play it plain vanilla. G to C. C. And there's nothing wrong with that. But now let's go to D and G. So the whole idea is I am taking, and I'll go ahead and just remind you to think back to your triads. I'm taking a G, I have to play a G chord. But let's say I want to get either that 7th sound or want to get that 9th sound. Instead of trying to whip out a big fat jazz chord that's not necessarily going to fit in a modern worship setting, you can now go ahead and then try to play different triads, but what we call it, the fancy word is superimposing a triad. So if you see a G major chord as part of the chart, but you want to get that 7th, that major 7th sound, just play a B minor triad. Why? Because you probably already know your triads, right? And if you know those triads already, then you can go ahead and use those to get a little bit more of these jazzier and a bit more of the sophisticated sounds. So hopefully that's useful. If you want to make notes, I'll quickly give it to you like this. You've got a G major triad which has 3 notes. So if I play a G triad over a G chord, I'm going to get a plain vanilla G major. If I play a minor triad of the 3rd, I'm going to get the major 7th sound. If I play a major triad of the 5th, I'm going to get that major 7th sound. So that's how you go ahead and you do it. You either play a major triad of the root to get a plain vanilla. You play a minor triad of the 3rd to get a major 7th. And you play a major triad of the 5th to get that major 9 sound. The same will be for C major. So instead of playing a C triad off the root for a plain vanilla C. I'm going to play an E minor triad off the 3rd to give me C major 7th. And then I'm going to play a G major triad off the 5th, which will give me that major 9 sound. When you go to the minors though, if you play a minor triad over the root, it's going to be plain vanilla, E minor. But if you are going to do the G, you're going to play a major triad of the minor 3rd. You get a minor 7th sound. And then obviously you've got E, G, and B. So if you take a B minor over that, you're going to get a different sound over there, which is the 5th, the major 7th, and then a 9th. The minor 7th and a 9th. So that is how you go ahead and do it. I've done a full video, which I think we released. It's either the video we did be on Tuesday or the Tuesday before. But I think it's the last video that we did where I showed you in detail how that works. So Charles asks, with the natural numbers in this order. So yes, so basically it's going to depend on how you go. If you just do it for the simplest way is you do your triad, you look at what your notes are, and if it's G note, what is G in the major scale? It's a major, so you play a major triad. But if you go to B, if you look at the key of the key of G major, B will be a minor, so that means you play a minor triad. And if you look at D, which is your 5th, that is also a major, you're going to play a major triad. That's why when you play over E minor, you do an E minor triad, because in the key of G, E is 6, which is a minor. But if you look at G, which is the minor 3rd, and if you then play the minor 3rd is G, which is G major in the key of G, it's going to get you that minor 7th sound. And then if you do off the 5th, it's B again, which is why that's B minor 7th. So if you go to D, for example, D is a major, you'll play D major. But F sharp is a diminished 7th, or so not a diminished 7th, just a diminished triad. That's why that looks like a D7th chord. And then A, again, is going to be major. And in A is going to be A minor. You just need to look at what those are. I'll work on a handy chart that I can give for you guys over there. But yes, so Charles is saying 2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 5, 7. Moving 1 to the right for the relevant 7th. And 2 to the right gives 7 and 9. So yeah, what if you play on the 3rd? If you go 1 to the right, it's going to be the 3rd, and another one is the 5th. So you basically just take your triads, and instead of playing the plain vanilla, you're going to go ahead and either play a triad off the 3rd or the 5th. That's basically what it is. You're playing a triad off the 3rd or off the 5th, and if you want to know is it a major triad or a minor triad, well, that answer is going to be revealed by looking at what is that triad going to be in the key of G. So if it's an F sharp, well, it's going to be F sharp diminished. If it's B, it's going to be B minor, C, C major. So I'll work on a handy chart that I can give you guys for that. The main thing is you want to do this in a musical way. And let's see if I can pull this up. We did a song last week called Firm Foundation. And let's see if I can pull this up, and I'll play a little bit of that for you guys, just to show you that when you are thinking about songs like this, which is, or chords like this rather, you don't have to get that super jazzy or that fusion type of sound, because there's like fusion guitar players that do this often, where they superimpose different things, and then you get kind of a very specific sound. Like if you look at a guitar player like Larry Colton, he used that concept a lot, but if you use it in its pure form, then it becomes very jazzy, very fusiony. But what I want to show you now is in this Firm Foundation song, and we also look at another one called Gratitude. One thing I started noticing with some of these bands and new songs is, I guess, people are starting to push the boundary a little bit again from a harmony point of view. Because 1, 4, 6, 5, nothing wrong with that. And the goal for us, when it comes to us as being worship musicians, isn't to try and push boundaries musically the whole time, right? But sometimes you don't always have to do a 1-4-6-5. You can do some interesting things. So let's look at firm foundation. I'm going to go ahead and just pull up my rehearsal mix over here. So shout out to Multitracks. So firm foundation, Cody Carnes, I believe it's this version with Chandler Moore and Austin Davis. So I'm going to go to the interlude section over here. So let's play that. Let's get our, just hoping the technology works here today. That should be going through. For whatever reason, that's not coming through. Right, let's see why that's not working. I'm going to go out one song and back again. So what they've got going here is if you look at the chords, it's just E flat, F, B flat, G minor, F. Okay, it looks like my Bluetooth is not coming through, so let me switch it off and on, the age-old troubleshooting. If that doesn't work, I'll try one other thing. So play. All right, so that definitely worked. So let's go, listen to this interlude section here. Beautiful, beautiful melody there. And
rain came and wind blew, but my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through.
all right, cool. So let's go ahead and look at that melody that they are playing, and just to show you where some of these seventh sounds come from and so forth. So let me just pull that section up for us again one more time. Okay, great. So let me call out the chords. So for that interlude section, if you wanted to write down the chords, it's basically just E flat, F, B flat over D, G minor, and F. So that section, and I'll go to my close-up on my guitar over here for you guys. So for that section, they're playing. So if you go and look at what's going on here, so the first chord, and let's go to that section. The first chord is pretty much E flat. And then the notes, it's important for you to know that you don't just play any notes. Look at what the notes are. So the first note is a G, which is your third of a, if you play an E flat triad, right? It's the third, but then it goes to that note, which is a D note. And that D in the key of E flat is a seventh. So if I were to look at my E flat triad, my third is a G. So if I play a minor of that third, I'm going to get that major seventh sound. So that's exactly what they're doing over here. Listen to that. So that right there is a major seventh sound because the chord is E flat. Can you hear? There's that. And then it goes to a third and a fifth over F. So that's where you would use this. So if you were just to play the chords, you can play E flat, G minor, F, F. So if I just do those triads for that section, then I can go ahead and support the melody for the singer without having to play the melody. I can just play the chords. So I'm going to play E flat, G minor, F, F. Listen to that. Get that section. Okay, it's iPad is jumping back to a different section every time. So let's just help it there. Okay. Let that melody pass again. So see, then instead of playing E flat, which will be a normal E flat like that, it's a G minor triad. So that's how you can go ahead and that's where that sound comes from. It's quite a interesting sound if you just look at those notes together. Quite a fun song to play in that regard. So it helps if you know what a seventh sounds like, because in that line, going to that section, it's definitely a major seventh. We got Steve Flower also tuning in from Sydney. Hey Steve, great to see you online as well. Wonderful. Well, let's look at something else, which is in the song Gratitude. Now we're just kind of exploring different sounds so that you don't always just play the major and minor triads, but that you have some interesting sounds to do. And what we've done so far is just looked at how you can go ahead and use triads and basically superimpose them to Gratitude, which is something that we played last week. If I can find that right section, there's a part in the song where they play a minor 6. All right, a minor 6, and they've got they also play a 5 minor in that song. So your triads, it doesn't just follow the standard 1-4-6-5 triads as well. In this case, instead of actually superimposing a triad, they're literally pulling other chords that are not part of that key, which is also cool to do. And we'll go over that in a second, then I can go ahead and play some of that for you. But let me know if you guys have any questions in and around chord voicings or trying to find a way to come up with some cooler sounds as it relates to just trying to find a way where you don't always have to play just the basic chords, because that can get, we have to find that balance between creative expression, number one, serving the moment, number two, for whatever is needed, because that's ultimately our job as guitarists. We have to go ahead and serve the moment there to play what's needed in the song. If you look at styles like progressive rock or fusion and all those kind of things, they literally kept pushing boundaries the whole time, because everyone at that time was kind of tired of just playing traditional blues. And that's where jazz also came from, right? They started really pushing the boundaries by incorporating more of an intellectual side into music. Because if you just look at the blues at the time, it was 3 chords, right? A7, D7, E7 if you play a 12-bar blues in the key of A. And a lot of people are going and kind of giving you this thing as it relates to, they're saying worship music is boring, right? And what's happening with regards to that is they say it's just the same 4 chords. Well, there's 2 things that I would like to go ahead and kind of just bring to your attention here. Number one, the focus of music in that regard is for us to lead people in the corporate setting. So we can't kind of go, be too creative, because then we're going to lose the people we're supposed to lead. And if we are up there on stage, we're supposed to lead them in corporate worship, well, then pushing the boundaries in that regard is maybe not a great thing, number one. Number two, people are also sometimes complaining about, well, it's the same 4 chords. And to that, my response is part of what I've just given you. But the second thing is blues. If you look at blues guitar players, I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan or Joe Bonamassa or any of these kind of guys, they are, they're fiery players on the guitar, and there's no lack of expression or whatever the case may be. And in that regard, the blues is only 3 chords. So it's A7, D7, and E7, for example, if you play a standard 12-bar blues in the key of A. Well, we've got 1 extra chord, so it means within the confines of simple chords, you can find many creative application. So the chords don't have to limit your creativity. And that's what I wanted to show you today, is if you are looking for a little bit more of a creative outlet where you don't have to play the same old voicings and you're looking for some more interesting voicings, well, a good way to start is by superimposing those triads. So you feel free to go ahead and do that at any point in time. Talking about some creative stuff, if you go to, and let's see if I can go ahead and pull this up for us. If you go to, let's see, worshipguitarmagazine.com, in case you guys are looking for some additional things that you can go and do in your playing, then worshipguitarmagazine.com will be a great place to go to. And let me go ahead and just pull that up for us real quick. That's going to redirect you to a page on our website where we've got a free magazine that you can go ahead and check out, whether you are on an iPad, which is obviously the iOS App Store, or you can also go to obviously Google Play Store. We also have it over there. So, and then if you go to, let's have a look here real quick. That is what I want to show you. Yeah, we also have a PDF version if you don't have one of these devices. So let me go ahead and pull that up for us real quick. So go to worshipguitarmagazine.com. That is going to go ahead and forward you to this page on our site, which is, if you want the direct URL, it's worshipguitarskills.com/magazine. So there's 3 different places where you can go ahead and get access to the magazine. If you have an iPad, go ahead and grab the app on the App Store. If you are on Google device, Google Play, you can grab it there. And if you just want the PDF, you can also go ahead and grab the PDF. Now, the thing is, when you go to the PDF, you won't be able to stream any videos. But what we've got for you is we've got a PDF version that you can go ahead and check out. So I'll go ahead and just show you that real quick. And if you click on any of the videos inside the PDF itself, then what you'd be able to do is you'll see that there's a button just to click to grab the video online. You'll be able to do that. So we've got a bunch of articles there around tone, improving your playing. Some of the articles come with tabs. Some of them, let's go ahead and scroll through real quick. There's many of these videos. Now, if you got this in terms of the device on your phone or on your iPad, the videos will stream for you over there as well if you have a internet connection. So feel free to go and check those out. We've got a bunch of articles and lessons in terms of the magazine. So you'll get to that by going to worshipguitarmagazine.com, and that will take you right to that section. Our aim always is to kind of find that balance, because that's what I was saying before, is just finding the balance between you want to have the creative expression, but you want to be able to understand that we are there to serve the moment as well. And it's not all about just trying to be creative the whole time, but actually losing people throughout the process. So if you have any questions around how do you find that balance between, as Psalm 33 verse 3 tells us, to play skillfully, we know that we are made in the image and likeness of God, who is the ultimate creator. How can we find ways to be creative in our playing? It's always going to be that balance. What is the function of our role as worship guitarists, but at the same time, how can we get expression to come through? And if you go and look at King David, who we know is a man after God's own heart, if you go and look at him, he wasn't afraid of expressing himself. Some of the psalms are jubilant, happy, and all those kind of things, and other psalms are a little bit more on the darker side, but he was always just totally expressive. And I think God liked that because there was an authenticity and an honesty. And sometimes that's one of the criticisms that people have for Christians and maybe churches in some cases is that there's not enough authenticity because everyone is putting up a front, and when you see them, they say, you see people in church, they're always blessed, always on top of the world, always everything is just going amazing, and we know that life just isn't like that. Just go and look at King David's life, and you look at the Psalms, there was the up and downs, the ebbs and flows, there's trials and tribulations, there's challenges that you have to face. So people kind of lack some of that authenticity sometimes with Christians and maybe some of the church leadership, because people don't always address things from an authentic point of view. So obviously that's just a broad statement, so I'm not talking about anything in particular, but what I am saying is it's great to be expressive, it's great to be authentic, and it's also, there's times in worship where you want to feel you're not just being note for note playing all the things on a record or on a recording, and you're not being able to express yourself. Well, these kind of things that we are sharing in the magazine, on our YouTube channel, and all that stuff basically means let's keep the heart of worship the main thing. The main thing is to keep the main thing. But within that, let's see how can we be expressive? How can we find our own voice and our own way to contribute to the worship experience so that you can feel this was an authentic expression, number one, of your heart, and number two, of your creative ability on the guitar. So, any questions in and around that, we are always happy to help you guys. And Charles is saying, any general tips when it might not work well to add sevenths or a 7 or a 9th when not noted in the chord chart, not wanting to conflict with the main melody? Yeah, so the main thing that I would say with regards to that, Charles, is you're right. Sometimes it's not written. So first of all, if you are looking at, if you're playing an intro, or if there's a building section to a bridge, or whatever the case may be, and there's not a very specific melody, then you can experiment by adding in some of these other flavors, because there's not a melody being sung at that moment, so it's not going to clash. The second thing is your ear, to use your ear as the guide, right? In terms of like, when do you feel adding in a 7th or a 9th or an 11th or whatever the case will be, is adding an extra color that is not clashing. And that's one thing, but we also have to remember part of music is tension and resolution. So you want to look at creative ways to create tension so that you can go ahead and resolve that. So when I play, and I'll do this for us real quick on this, if I go to this one track, I'll make it a 1-4-6-5 this time instead of just 1 and 4 the whole time. I have two options, right, where I can either just play plain vanilla triads, which I'll do on the first time around, and then the second time I am going to go ahead and play more major 7th and minor 7th type voicings. Let's have a listen. Plain vanilla the first time, and the second time we are going to go ahead and add some of the interesting sounds. So just listen. And here we go, plain vanilla triads. Now I go 7ths. Plain vanilla. Lead option. So in that instance, what I did there is I used the power of contrast. So the first time I just played straightforward triads, and then a second time I introduced that seventh sound, and then when I went lead, I used some of those seventh sounds as well. And then I went back to the plain vanilla triads. As you can hear, that contrast does something where you've got, you're bringing in variety. Too much variety, it's going to be too chaotic. And too little variety, it's going to be too predictable. So that's what, to answer your question there, Charles, is I try and find that balance between chaos and order, which is tension and resolution. That is music, that is life. Sometimes your life is super in order, sometimes it's a bit chaotic with schedules being crazy, challenges at work, whatever the case may be, and other times it's going to be a lot of order and things are flowing smoothly. If you can learn how to express that on your guitar and tread that balance between chaos and order, tension and resolution, your ear is going to be the ultimate deciding factor whether something works or whether something doesn't work. So the only way to try that is to experiment. And if you look at kids, right, if you have kids, I've got 3 kids, they're always pushing the boundaries because they kind of want to see from the exploring the world, seeing what can they do, what can't they do. So if you don't set the boundaries and enforce the boundaries, they're just going to keep pushing until they found, okay, great, find a boundary, say, all right, cool, maybe we shouldn't do this because that's a boundary within the household, whatever the case. But they're going to keep pushing it until they find a boundary, and then they get feedback around that. In the same way, as a guitarist, as a musician, as a creative, when you are practicing, you want to push the boundaries with a track at home or with a song at home. See, where does this 7th chord or this sharp 11 over the 4 or whatever, where does it add chaos, tension? I'm using that word chaos to be a representation for tension, and that I can resolve in a smooth way where I feel like my guitar playing is going to be an honest reflection of my heart, of serving the people, serving the moment. But you want to push those boundaries when you are practicing so that when you play on stage, you can go ahead and use the boundaries that you've tested at home. That could be a contentious topic because obviously when you are playing live on a Sunday, that's not the time to whip out sweep picking and 8-finger tapping and playing flat nines and all those kind of things, or even just times to experiment or practice on stage because you want to do your preparation beforehand. And so that's what I would recommend. Just use your ear and try and find the balance between tension and resolution. Too little, it's going to be too predictable, too boring. Too much, it's going to be too chaotic and too unsettling. But just the right amount is going to be wonderful. That's my view on keeping things interesting from a worship perspective. So hopefully that gives you an answer. And if you guys have any further questions around that, feel free to ask away. I'll go ahead and play us this section from the song Gratitude, where I mentioned what they are doing with the chords. So normally if you play in G major, the C chord is a major, but in this case they actually play a minor 6, and normally your D chord is also a major. So if I go ahead, I'll play us the chorus so we can go into that section, and let's just make sure I'm on the actual song part. Let's listen to this. The whole idea is finding ways to go ahead and create interesting ways to apply. In this case, it was in the song itself, but now the harmony of the song is using some of this creative expression where the 5 chord and the 4 chords are minors. But I'm going to show you how you can still serve that using simple triads. You're welcome, Charles. Glad that was helpful. So let's listen to the chorus going into the refrain section of this Gratitude song. Just waiting for the song to load. Here we go. All right, so it will help if I use the right key. So multi-tracks will go ahead and transpose the song for you in the key that you want to do it. So let's go ahead and do that one more time. Hopefully it will just go ahead and play for us. So I'm going to play the chorus right before the section. So now we're in the key of B. So I just want to find our refrain section. and then I'm going to play the chorus, and then from there we can listen to how it's using that 5 minor and that 4 minor chords as well. So here we go. Chorus, going into that section. Looks like my internet's a bit slow here, so we're just waiting for that to catch up. And 1 second on that. So if you want to check out multi-tracks, what they've got is they call it rehearsal mix. And you can actually go ahead and solo some of the different parts, which is kind of not always easy to hear the guitar part in context when you are listening to the song with the full mix. But in this instance, I'm just going to play the full song for us, and then afterwards we'll come and go and look at what those chords are. And there's that -6.
And I know it's not much. I've nothing else fit for a king except for a heart.
And let's listen to this refrain section over here. There's a triad. Another triad. B major triad, F sharp minor, E2, E minor 6, Alright, that's a great song, and as we can see, those are just, I can service, so to speak, all those chords with simple triads. B, F sharp minor, E2, E minor 6, B major, F sharp minor, E2, E minor 6. So in that case, they played 1 5 minor, which is normally a major, and then they had 4 as a sus2, which is common, but then 4 minor 6, which is at E minor 6 over there. What's the point that I'm making with this? Well, harmonically speaking, this song is borrowing chords from other keys. So the creative approaches come from the song itself, the harmony. As a guitarist, you can still play all those interesting voicings from a triad point of view, where you're playing smaller voicings that can still cut through the mix. And doesn't mean you have to whip out a jazz type voicing when you see a jazzy type chord, like in this case, E minor 6, which is something that you don't often encounter in modern worship. Maybe in hymns and so forth, you're definitely going to get that more rich harmony because it kind of came out of that. And I don't know if this is the truth, but apparently the word gig means God is good. Because back in the day, all these awesome church musicians that were super well trained in gospel and jazz and all those kind of things, whenever they got a gig to go and play somewhere, they obviously got paid and they earned some money by playing. So then they said God is good because they're unable to use those skills and going to earn some money with that. That kind of makes sense, but I just wanted to kind of give us a bit of history there from how we can go ahead and use some of these more jazzy type voicings, but do that in a more modern style without having to spend hours learning jazz voicings. All right, guys, so thanks a lot for coming and hanging out with us here today on our Aussie-friendly time zone and also European-friendly time zone. Next week, we are going to be back again on the US-friendly time zone. If you go to worshipguitarskills.com, I think if you go to worshipguitarchallenge.com, we've got a 7-day challenge. You can sign up for that, where we go ahead and cover more of the specific techniques for modern worship guitarists. Or if you just go to worshipguitarskills.com as well, you can go ahead and sign up to our mailing list, and we'll go ahead and send you a notification when we do our live stream next week. So much love, guys. Have an awesome rest of your week, and then we shall see you next week back on another episode of that Worship Guitar Show. Thanks, guys. Have a good one, and we shall see you next time. Great of you guys to join us. As always, have yourself a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.